Hello, I'm Craig Peters, editor of Global Railway Review, and joining me today on this video is Michael Kloecker, the Head of Solutions Management Railways at Nokia. Michael, thank you for speaking with me today.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. Happy to be here to talk a little bit on the, let's say, mission critical communication. In the coming years, we expect new technologies here. A bit on my background, I'm doing railways since around about 2006 in product solution management, also in sales activities, dealing in the beginning with GSM-R technology. You might know this existing telecommunication we are using for railways, but since almost 10 years, we are dealing also with what are the successor technologies for GSM-R. And I think today we will give a bit of a introduction on the topic from the past to the current situation where we are.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. So yes, of course, railway operations are mission critical in nature, and there is, of course, a continued drive for digitalization and innovation. So I wanted to speak with you today about a particular element of this transformation and how there is an evolution of mission critical communications in the railway industry. So perhaps first of all, Michael, you could give us your take on what is or what are mission critical communications in mobile networks, and what are the drivers and the market segments? What can you tell us?
Well, mission critical is for sure nothing new. So we have since years in different segments, may it be railways for sure, as I mentioned already, may it be energy sector, may it be public safety sector. We are using mission critical mobile communication since years. So we have analog systems there, we have systems like Tetra, we have systems like GSM-R, and they are all serving these requirements quite well. More on a, let's say, low bandwidth, more on specific deployments. So we have different deployments probably in public safety, where you are more having deployments on critical emergency situations. So the situation-aware communication is quite important. With railways, we have different scenarios. We have trains passing borders across Europe, worldwide. So this is nothing new. And the drivers now that we see today is why we are changing things. And it's quite clear. If I talk about analog system, if I talk about Tetra, if I talk about GSM-R, we are now in a situation where this technology will come to a natural end because it's running since years. GSM-R, I think we have started in 2020 with the first networks in Europe, and we will still have 10 years to go here because we have a very long migration period. So overall, these systems are getting old, and then the question is, what can we do? What is the solution for this one? And we get new drivers. So we have now a lot of requests in these days coming, for example, from the industry. They want to use much better communication, really mission critical communication, which means reliable, very short latency, with effectively a technology that can benefit from, for example, from a public market. And these are the drivers that we see today. So bringing new technology because technology is getting outdated. The Tetra, the public safety community, has started, I think, sometimes in 2015 already as a first, let's say, segment who said we need to have a successor system. And they brought then the requirements into the mobile communication world. And the mobile communication world means the technology that we are using in public networks. So like 4G, which was the initial task, and nowadays 5G, where we have even more functionality addressing the different segments. So this was the driver at this point of time. How can we bring the requirements that we have from our analog system, from our Tetra system, and also from GSM-R into the new world? And this was, as I said, 2015, 2014, we had the first discussions there in the mobile standardization, because one of the target was, let's have a standardized solution. Let's not have again, proprietary solutions in this segment and in the other segment. Let's go for really a standardized solution. And the 3GPP, so the mobile communication that we are using since years as mobile users, private users, this has all the benefits of standardization, of roaming, interoperability. So this is the reason why this mission critical comes now in more and more different segments that we see. Not only railway, for sure, I'm focusing on railway, but we are also interested in all these synergies.
Fantastic, thank you, Michael. So, yeah, with all that in mind, you obviously mentioned there, but what is the relation to railway and to GSMR in particular, and why should we all be interested in this topic? Why is it so important?
Yeah, as I've said, we are like the Tetra industry, for example, for public safety. We have the same challenges. So the technology is getting older and older. We need to have a successor. Then we analyze this quite in the beginning. So what are the typical Tetra functionality that public safety is using? We even have Tetra in some railway networks. So it's not all unknown to the railway segment, but especially for the main line where we are using a lot GSMR, we have said, okay, we have group communication. We have reliable quality of service requirements there in the current network. We need to have, for example, the radio network needs to be efficiently used. Broadcast mechanisms are required. Addressing schemes need to be very flexible in a public safety world. If you want to address your leader in the specific team, the fire worker head or the fire workers on site, you need to have a very flexible addressing schemes. And we have similar requirements in railway. And so we have said, okay, let's have a look. What are the synergies? What are the commonalities where we can benefit from requirements that were driven by these segment? Where can we bring in requirements? For example, this very specific dynamic addressing scheme. We found now that there are a lot of interest also in other segments on what the railway requirements are coming into when railway requirements are coming into the game. So this is what we think. There's a lot of benefits from the functionality. There are synergies, and overall, what does it mean for the industry? The more people you can address with your specific solutions, the better it is for both sides, for the operator and for the industry, because we do not need to have too many bespoke solutions like we probably had in the past. We are now going to a standardized solution. We are taking the requirements from the different segments, defining a solution which addresses a lot of these different segments. For sure, there are always specific enhancements, specific requirements, but the a big part is already common. And this is really a good sign and also a good message to the operators, to the industry, because they can rely on probably a very broad ecosystem, whether this is in the infrastructure, whether this is on the clients. So this is I think the relation where we have been very successful in GSMR, and this is also a standardized solution. So this was a little bit that we benefit already in the past of such systems which were defined by mobile communication technology. GSM is the first one, we know, but now we are doing the next step, and we are doing this together with the other domains and industries.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, well, perhaps Michael, you can explain a little more for us. What is MCX, and how does 3GPP come into it? What more can you say?
Yeah, when we consider now these current activities in mobile communication for mission critical communication, there is a big part is still what we have on the radio. So we have LTE, we have today 5G technology, very high bandwidth, depending on your spectrum, very low latency, a robust, we can even serve the highest reliable requirements that we got currently from industry with ultra low latency situations, probably even more than we use currently in railways. So this is one of the component, the building block that we have. So it's a reliable radio and core network with redundancy concepts that are introduced. And then we have this new topic, which we call these mission critical application. And this was started, as I've said, when the Tetra community was thinking about LTE, was thinking about this technology. They have said, oh, we need to have some way of how can we achieve a similar functionality in Tetra? How can we do group communication? Can we do this? Do we need to have put this in every base station? Do we have to put this in every core network, like we, for example, have today in GSMR, or can we do something more on an application level? So then we are much more flexible when it comes to later changes in radio technology, for example. We are still building on an application-centric realization of the functionality, and we can skip later on different railway technologies. And this was one of the main drivers also from the railway, that we are now for the future have a system which is probably not too bound into the details of a BTS, of a radio base station, of a switch, but keep it a bit more on the application level. And this is what was introduced then. First time was release 12, and this was completed in 2050. So this means that someone have said, let's put some application-centric realization of, for example, group calls or other functionality. So the group call is more or less running over the transport. So it's like a over the top. I would not say it's comparable to WhatsApp or Skype or whatever, but there are some concepts which were founded at this point of time, which are more realized on the application layer without impacting the transmission, the transport. For sure, there's interaction. Yes, the interaction with respect to quality of service. We need to have efficient radio, but a lot of functions are on these 3GPP application layer, and this was introduced at this point of time, as I've said, driven by the Tetra and public safety energies. But from Nokia point of view, we have been following this very careful from the beginning, because at this point of time, we know we have to find a solution for GSMR replacement in the future. We have new requirements. We need to have a replacement. We want to go for this digitalization. We have more bandwidth. We have more clients. We have considering not only the train, but also the IoT devices, Internet of Things devices, and so on and so on. Video is getting more important. Automation is getting more important. And then we have said, okay, let's have a look. And we are putting then in parallel to what was done in the initial phase, let's have a voice group call, more data-oriented applications or service enablers. I would say service enablers have been incorporated into this standardization. Video has been incorporated, group communication, private calls, a lot of different use cases that we think are now very good to fulfill the railway requirements. And the railway have defined their requirements for the new system beyond typical only voice or a little bit of train control, but there's automation. There will be video coming in the future. There are a lot of use cases that we want to deal with. And this was the driver, bringing all the requirements of the railways into this 3GPP activity. And every release, and as I've said, we have started in release 12, 13 with public safety. Release 15, which was coming in 2019 or finalized, we put the first railway features into this one. Functional addressing, for example, the concept that we have in GSMR, where you can address a train by his train running number, but you do not need to know his specific ISDN or other identifier, zip identifier. So there's a functional addressing scheme, and this was brought in the first time in the release 15. And now we are already in release 18, and we are still not there because there are new requirements, there are enhancements needed. So this is currently the work in this 3GPP environment, in parallel to bringing, let's say, the quality of service mechanisms into the radio. This needs to be done, right? And aspects to have an efficient radio usage for group communication, to not doubling all the data. You can do this in an efficient broadcast. So this is running in parallel, and this is not finalized, it's continuing.
Okay, so some more work that obviously needs to be done, which is great. So, but what are the reasons behind the railway industry starting to focus on 3GPP mission critical MCX frameworks? What would you say are the main benefits, Michael?
Yeah, I think I've tried to address this already a bit, but for us it was quite clear in the beginning. We have said, okay, hi, we have now this new concept of group communication running over this mission critical framework. We have already something there where we can decouple our railway applications from the underlying technology, so that we are very flexible in the future, that we do not need to start from scratch when we are, for example, going from 5G to 6G to 7G technology. No, we can rely on what we did already on this architecture. And these architecture concepts of this mission critical framework are exactly the one that we want to introduce now for railway, to keep the little bit the train control, the voice application independent of whether this is 5G, 4G, 6G, whatever. This was one of the main benefits. And for sure, for us as industry, the benefit is that this is a technology standardized, a broad ecosystem, different industry segments using this functionality. So for us, it's for sure, and not only for the industry, it's for us and it's for the operator as well. He's relying now not on a niche technology, he's relying on a very broad consent requirement and solution, and this is guaranteed if you go following 3GPP standardization.
Okay, excellent. So some really great benefits there, and lots to consider. But what about the challenges, Michael? What are they, and what needs to be addressed?
Yeah, as I've said, we started 10 years ago, and for sure it was a long way defining requirements specifically now for railways, but it also shows that you cannot do this in one release of a standard. Yeah, so it will take several time because this complexity is quite, I would say, quite high. We have a lot of use cases that we are addressing, and we have already found, for sure, there are commonalities, but we also found that some of the let's say the concepts of a public safety use case, where you really have your specific environment, where you have a very strong role of a dispatcher who's dispatching his team. He's aligning the team, combining them, bringing information to them. This is a bit different to what we have in railway, where the train is running across the country. You have emergency calls. Now you need to define where is the train, what are the other trains in this area, other people, a maintenance worker there. Do we need to inform them in case of an accident? This is a different concept. This is more a centralized concept where you have to know where are all my team members, where are all my trains and where are my maintenance workers? Can I address them in an automatic way? And these are sometimes these challenging thing, and this is why we are now going even from release 17, which is the currently still ongoing standardization work. The next step is already coming, and we are putting already some enhancements into this because we have to address these differences. And this is a little bit the challenge. We will not make it in one day, but okay, when we introduced GSMR, it was also not done in one day. This technology was also improved during the year, and what we are currently especially focusing on in Europe, and this is aligned with the EU, with the legal framework that we have in Europe, that we will start hopefully in 2025, where we have the first set of specifications that are for sure not that flexible as we could imagine. There are for sure enhanced functionalities coming in the future, but we are starting with the basics. Yeah? The basics are there. We are able to do what we do today with group communication. Voice is always and still important for railways. But also the train control, yeah. So automation of train control, avoid that the trains need to rely on external signals. They should get their movement authorities. All this really critical communication to run trains supervised or in the future even automated. This needs a very reliable base, and this is what we are introducing now, so that we are have at least the first step with what is really needed from also from today's functionality, and then it will be enhanced over the next years. This is completely clear.
Fantastic. And lastly, Michael, just to recap all of that, the future's looking bright for this topic and what Nokia are doing. So can you give us a few more ideas about what more Nokia is doing in this area and what the future holds?
Yeah, as I've said, we had the good situation was that in the beginning, when the public safety was bringing this new functionalities and requirements into 3GPP, we were heavily involved in that segment, and we are still in that segment. And at the same time, as I said, we had with the railway teams in Nokia, we have said, oh, we also need to have some successor system. And then we have said from the beginning, let's have a look that whatever you do, let's already have in mind that this could be used for railways. So this was, let's say, our support, especially in standardization. So these work packages or work items, or even this group which is doing all the mission critical specification work, was led to some time by Nokia employees. So we are a rapporteur of different work items, and we are still a rapporteur of different work items which are important for railways, whether it comes to, for example, interoperability requirement in solutions across Europe. So this is important, how to realize that the train can run from the south, from Portugal to even to the Baltics in the future, right? So this is what we did. We were very strong from the beginning in this specification work. We addressed these public safety markets as one of the first markets which were introducing this technology. So today we have a lot of these references in public safety networks worldwide, where we are already deploying today mission critical communication with a little bit focus on public safety. But also since some time we are now enhancing this and bringing this technology also to railway market segments. We have already now, we are just announced we have a contract in Australia, where we are bringing this mission critical communication, even if this is not the final one, but already the intermediate step, the pre-future railway mobile communication system step. We are bringing it to Australia. We are bringing it to India. So there is already a deployment today where we are bringing the current version of the specification and the current version of the products into these different segments. And railway, public safety, these are the typical networks, I would say, with a very wide area and coverage. But we are also doing now a lot in these campus segments, where industry segments inside the industry is very high position requirements, logistics, energy. So the energy market, which is very critical. We know how today what happens if you have a cybersecurity attack on that one. So they have very strict mission critical requirements, and they were using quite old technology, and they are also now interested to manage the complete grid of the energy network countrywide. Yeah. So we have different deployments countrywide, more focused on smaller campus. If you're going to companies, automotive companies and others, they are now changing from their existing, let's say, Wi-Fi systems, probably with limited functionality, mission critical functionality. They want to bring more mission critical functionality there, and then they have decided, now let's go from Wi-Fi, for example, more to a 3GPP based LTE or 5G solution to benefit from all the standardization efforts. And we are in there. We are doing already a lot of projects in energy, in public safety, most of them because of the longer history, but now also in railway, especially when it comes to outside Europe, because Europe has this legal framework. You need to have these agreed among all member states. So it's a EU that defines these specifications for interoperability, and this will take some years. So we are expect 2025 deployments in Europe, but outside Europe, there's no demand for that, and they have probably even older systems in place they want to replace, or have higher urgent demands for video, for safe driving trains, probably in smaller areas, And this is why we are offering already solutions in that segment. So we are very broad now in the different industry segments. This is why also Nokia had specifically defined in, let's say, enterprise solution business a group where we exactly focusing on these domains with all the synergies that we get.
Yeah, that's great, Michael. That actually brings us to a nice close. Lots of exciting things that we can all look out for in the future then. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Really great to hear what you have to say on this evolution of mission critical communications in the rail industry. So lots for our listeners to take away. So thank you very much for sharing your thoughts.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Have a nice day. Bye.